Get strong.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to episode 6 of the Spike Lemonade podcast. This podcast is a long time coming. I'm alongside my pal Kieran Rose, who's here from Atlanta. And Kieran's having an outstanding season, and we've been wanting to do this podcast for about a year now. And I finally got a hold of him this year after the Philadelphia Major that happened yesterday. Here to talk to Kieran about all things: his intro to the game, his recent success, his grind, where he is now living, job, and everything in between. Because I think it's exciting, it's entertaining, and as you are becoming more of a well-known player in the community, I think people want to know what the heck you have going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I will say I'm just super stoked to be on the podcast. Like you said, long time coming. Wish we could have done it last year, but I know I've been more immersed in the community more than ever this past year. So lots of fun stories to talk about, I'm sure. And yeah, thanks again for having me on. Really
Heck
excited.
yeah. Dude, it's been a blast. So a little backstory: we have Kieran now after the Philadelphia Major, which happened yesterday. Kieran came and hung out with us for the night, had dinner, stayed over, and it's been a blast. So it has been fun having you, bro.
Sweet,
You're a great hang, it's a great time. So I think it'd be awesome to take it right to the beginning. Well, let's go way back. When was the first time you ever saw a spike ball set? Like you walked up on it and you said, all right, what is this?
I was living in Santa Cruz, California at the time. I was born there, but then lived most of my life in upstate New York. Moved back to Santa Cruz for high school, and so I guess I was 17. It was 2017-ish.
Okay.
This was my junior year of high school, and we would go to the beach, just me and my friends, go boogie boarding. Attempt to surf, but couldn't really surf. Still want to do that in the future. I just cannot figure it out to save my life. But yeah, we saw some people playing and walked up to them. Had no idea who they were. Just kind of asked them about the game, and they let us play with them a bit. But of course, it was gentleman serves and introducing us to the game. And it was on the beach too, which was fun because you could lay out and I picked it up pretty fast, I felt but I couldn't really get the hang of how to set the ball, or how to rotate defensively, and it definitely was a figuring out period that first time I played. We played for about an hour and a half with these guys, and it was nice of them to kind of let us play. But then after that, we actually found out, so my friend had played with some other dudes in Aptos, which was maybe 20 minutes away from Santa Cruz. And they had a league going there for a good amount.
On the beach? Or was this...
This was close to the beach. So it was a park.
This was on grass.
This was on grass.
Okay.
And they actually did play on beach sometimes. But it was these two main guys. It was the only premier team in Santa Cruz. They were the Santa Cruz Slingers.
That's
these
awesome.
These two lefties. And this was just watching them play was ridiculous. Any serve they hit on the net, it was oh my god, I can't get to that. And so it made me really want to get good, because of course I was getting demolished by these guys, and the sport was fun enough that I picked up at the beginning that I was all right, this is something I want to grind. So that was kind of my first experience with spike ball, was going to pickups with them, getting destroyed over and over again, but slowly getting the score closer. It started 21-9, 21-10, and then maybe it got up to 21-14. And that was the end of high school. And then I can talk more about it, but what are your
that's all. No, that's awesome. So if anybody knows Kieran, has played with him friendly wise or at a tournament, that you're probably about as competitive as they come.
Yes.
So
I want to win, for sure. I love playing the sport, but at the end of the day, I really try to treat it like a professional game. Outside of spike ball, I do a lot of things in like my personal life to prep me for the games, for tournaments. I didn't used to. Like, I think it's in the last like year or so I've really put an emphasis on that.
Yeah.
But when I first started playing, like, it was really just fun to play, and that's what I love about it more than anything. Is just it's easy to pick up. It's a great community.
Yes.
Yeah.
So take me to your first tournament.
Mm-hmm.
A, how did you hear about it? B, where was it? And C, how did it go?
Yeah. So this was it was a very hard time finding a partner.
You're taking me to 2018 right now, correct?
Yes. Okay. So after 2017, it was in 2018, and I had moved from California now at this point back to New York for college. So I'd moved to Binghamton University, and they had the Boston Regionals, and this was, I guess, like maybe September-ish. It might have been a little earlier than that, but yeah, it was in like late summer to mid-fall in 2018, and I was playing with Jake Oxendine from North Carolina. I remember it was hard for me to find a partner. I was asking a lot of people on Facebook, couldn't really get a response, and then Jake hit me up and he was like, "Hey, you want to play?" And I was like stoked. I was like, "Sweet!" Like, this guy knows nothing about me, but I really wanted to play well and I really wanted to win. And so we signed up for Advanced at the time. This was before Contender, so it was kind of the same premise. Like, you could get like top 3 in Advanced and get Premier. But
you were thinking about this in your first tournament?
Yep.
You were a menace.
I was I was
awesome.
just ready to, like, I wanted to make Premier, like, that tournament. And of course, didn't go very well. Just kind of showed up, couldn't receive serves, couldn't land serves. That was probably the biggest problem. I was just ripping it into the rim over and over again. Yeah. This was before you had 2 serves. This was what, you had 1 serve to get it on. And you faulted, you lost the point.
Mm-hmm.
So even back then, like, it would have been a lot smarter to, like, just put more serves on and, go for less, like, angle and whatnot. But I wasn't even as good as I was back then to think about, like, angles and spin.
Right.
I was just trying to rip it.
You're just trying to have at it. Okay,
exactly.
So what was the overall outcome of the day? Was it just like a first round?
I think we went, like, I want to say we got through the first round. Like, I think we went 1-4 or something in pool play, and then we got, or maybe it was like 2-3. We did okay in pool play. Definitely not as good as we wanted to. I remember we played Ezra and Allie Kaufman, Ezra Dantowitz and Allie Kaufman, and we.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
And I think it was like 15 or like 20. I think it was games to 15, so it was like 15 to like 9 or something. But I was really upset we lost that, even though Ezra was like a great player. And so I remember we got to bracket and forget who we lost to, but it was round of like 16. And so we were kind of like disappointed or whatever. And I kind of let Jake down on the day too. Like, Jake definitely played better than me that day. So I was bummed about that. But what was really the biggest bummer of that tournament was this was a tournament where Max Modell tore his ACL, and I was just very, like, not emotional about it, but like it really just rubbed me the wrong way because Max was like kind of a legend to me when I was going to that tournament. Like, you'd show up and you'd see PJ hitting around, and like you had 717, with like Joel Graham and Caleb Heck and Hilltop, and so like Max and Cole, like, they're warming up. I'm seeing them play, like, they're incredible players, and it was just like I want to be able to like play against them. Like, that's how cool it was, and so that really like got me hooked. I was like, all right, like, I could get there one day. And so that was like very sad seeing him tear his ACL. I didn't see it happen, but
right. You saw the aftermath.
I saw the aftermath, and yeah, it was tough. I'm really happy for him that he's worked his way back into the sport. So yeah,
he's electric. Yeah, he's one of my favorite players to watch. Okay, so essentially, as we progress through, I wanted to talk a little bit about the groups that you'd play with while you were in school. Mm-hmm. And then, if you could, transition that for me into ultimately getting Premier. And what year did that happen for you?
That happened in 2021.
Okay.
Yeah, this was okay.
So there was some time in between.
Yep. 2018, I think. So that was the only tournament I played. And then 2019, I didn't travel much. I didn't like care too much about the sport. I would play a bit with like my friends at school, but it was really hard finding really anybody that wanted to take the sport seriously, especially in like 2019, 2018. I was kind of on my own. Like at Binghamton, there was a club, but even like the president didn't take it too seriously. So I thought about like, do I want to lead the club? I had other clubs that I was more focused on, and at the time, like it wasn't really my number one priority to like get better. But I'd play a good amount, and I've always just been like high on myself, probably too high on myself. So I thought that I could get to where I want to be without really putting like the work in, which just isn't a great mentality. And so I didn't train too much, didn't play too much pickup, just because I didn't really want to like waste my time per se with people that didn't care. But I think it would have been more valuable to just play with those players.
So how many tournaments do you think you had landed in 2019? You thinking like less than 10?
Yeah, maybe like 4.
Okay. And they were ones that were somewhat close.
Yeah, I would travel to like Rochester, get wrecked. I'd go to some like King of the Beach tournaments in like Albany or whatnot.
Right.
And so it was fun because like the best players at that time, it was like up in New York at least. It was like Ryan Gross. You'd have Alex Daly, Brandon Spector, Blake Rock, like all those guys.
Wow.
And they
I
were
didn't recognize some of those names.
They were like terrific players. Like if they were still playing, like they would. Yeah, at least like Brandon Spector would still be like a top 15 player in my opinion. Like he was unreal. So yeah, I would play a lot with them, and then I guess it got to like 2020 with COVID, where I was like, you know what, like I could take this really seriously. Where I was like, you know what, like I really want to like play, or do drills on my own, and during quarantine, like it was a corn spike or whatever, like I would just hit around a lot. This guy Nathan Stack who also lived in Ithaca, and so we'd go to the racquetball courts and like serve at each other for a bit. But my pickup group in like 2020 to like 2021, leading up to like getting Premier, I was playing a ton with like, I guess it was Ryan Gross, a good amount, Justin Shatar, who's like my partner for this year, and then we'd have like Jake Heidman, who hasn't really played too much this year, but he used to play a lot. We have like Alex Luck and Charlie Freeman. They were both at Cornell.
It was a solid group.
Yeah, it was good. Like we were able to play, but it wasn't too often. Like I think the hardest part for me was Rochester, where we would play, was like 2.5 hours from like Binghamton, and so I had to drive up there and like play maybe once every couple weeks, and it didn't feel like enough. Like I wanted to be able to play all the time. And so I think it was hard for me to like get better fast without being able to play with good players, or even just play with players in general.
In general, right?
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so take me through this phase where you ultimately get Premier. I think it's important for people, especially because we have, since the last episode we recorded, myself and my partner Ryan Paul ended up getting Premier in Salt Lake City. We're going to do an episode, probably 7 or 8, with Ryan where we talk about that experience. It was awesome. But I think it's important for those contender players that are grinding. And I won't name drop anybody, but I saw a few players yesterday I talked to, hey, how did it go? Give me the scoop. And they ultimately fell short. And they're on their 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th attempt, and they're getting ultimately a little bit discouraged. So I know a few of you tune into this because you see you at tournaments and you go, yeah, check out the podcast. This is a prime example of how you do not let that discourage you. He is one of the best players in the sport right now, and he had how many attempts to get Premier?
Probably at least like 7 or 8. It took me a long time.
Yeah, take me through it.
I think like my progression in the sport, from just learning the sport to getting Premier originally, was one of the longest in the sports, or in the sport. Like, I started really taking it seriously in 2018, like playing a lot more. Like that was my first tournament. But then I wanted it bad for like 3 straight years. And wasn't good enough, wasn't doing things well. I think what really flipped the switch for me was like examining my game a lot and like seeing like where I made a lot of mistakes. A lot of it had to do with serve percentage. I was, going for just trying to rip it by people, trying to get aces, not putting in the effort defensively that was necessary to get there. And I relied too much on my serve and not as much on the rest of my game. But I think in terms of getting Premier, like I was very discouraged at times. Like there were times where, I wondered if I wanted to play again. I got, round of 16'd over and over and over again. That I remember one of the toughest experiences was playing in Erie. This was, I guess, like 2021 before I got it.
Yep. Playing with who?
Or maybe this was 2020. I'm not really sure, but I was playing with Nathan Stack, and we were going into the tournament like not knowing anyone else in advanced, but wanting to make Premier. We thought we could get there. We had a good pool play. I think we lost to. It was like, who was it? Nathan, or maybe Nate, someone from Michigan. I'm spacing on the name. But Nate Wilson, I think it's Nate Wilson, and his partner. And so we lost to them as our last game of pool play. Went 4-1, got like the 12 seed. Yep. Had to play the 5 at the time, which was like Skylar Sebring, and I think it was like Mitchell Goffenstein. And so we played them round of 16. I think it was like 2 games that they got us, like 19, 17, something like that. Like couldn't really break through. And I was just depressed after that. Like I was like, I don't know what else to do. I didn't play great. Nathan didn't play great. We were both kind of just like upset about it. And then, it was kind of like, you know what? Like maybe I need to start like recording my games, seeing what I'm doing incorrectly. Because there's only so much that your memory can help you with. It's really true. Like you might think you're doing everything right, but I'm a perfectionist in like all aspects of my life, and even if we win the point on something, like I'm looking back at it and I'm like, wow, like how could we have won that point even easier? Like what could we have done to make that even like a better play for us? So I think that's really what kind of flipped for me, was like starting to watch my game, starting to watch my film.
And developing a complete game, like you mentioned, as opposed to just harping on just like serve pressure, and increasing percentage. All right, so ultimately you landed Premier in 2021. The tournament was located where?
This was Buffalo. It was a very small event, and I was playing with Dennis Joseph, close friend of mine. Yeah, and so Dennis, I didn't know at the time. I kind of got paired up with him. And I'm sure he was probably hoping to play with someone better. Like I think he was better than me at the time, and we kind of just showed up, and we wanted to get it. We got like the 4 seed. I think it was kind of weird how we got it too, because we played Jake Heidman and Jake Vledka, who was like ditto. They were ditto at the time, and like they were like a team like ranked above us, and so. We knew it was going to be kind of a challenge, and it was really unlucky for them. Jake got injured in late game 1, and had to forfeit game 2 of quarters. So we kind of got like pushed into Premier, and it felt kind of like undeserved because, of course they had to forfeit game 2. But at the same time, we won like game 1, like 21-12. So
that softened the blow a little bit.
Yeah, we knew we could do it, but then I think what really like helped boost our confidence after that is we played. It was Jake Goodnow, and you know who Jake is? Yeah, Northeastern guy.
I know of him. Yeah.
And then who's like the guy on Pocket Rockets again? It's Nick Mesa. Oh, Donald Funk. So it was Jake and Donald. And we beat them in, I think it was 2, but we played them in semis, and they were Premier at the time. So there were like 2 Premier teams at that tournament.
Interesting.
And even though we got Premier, we played them and beat them. And so it was like, all right, we beat a Premier team. Like we kind of deserve it, right? Like it felt a little better.
Yeah.
And then we played Ryan Gross and Alex Daly in the finals and took a game off them. So it was like, all right, like we're actually kind of like sick, like. And so actually, like if you go to my YouTube channel, like that's one of like my first highlight videos is me and Dennis playing. And yeah, I still like watch that, and like it makes me happy to kind of see like the beginning of like our journey. And he's like, so want to run more with him in the future.
Yeah, he's solid. I think he was in New York last weekend,
Okay,
or 2
yeah.
weekends ago. I
Yeah,
think,
yeah.
I believe. Sometimes I'm bad with the names.
I played with him in Jacksonville for the first tournament this year. Didn't have the result we wanted, but it was fun to be able to like run it back with him because that was like my second time playing with him and like the first time since we had made Premier. So yeah,
that's a cool story.
Yeah, it was fun.
So as we transition to you getting Premier, what I'd like to do, as opposed to a huge overview of sort of like breaking down time, I'd like to fast forward a little bit and fast forward to basically 2022 end of season to early 2023, because I'll be honest, maybe people that were closer to you knew it was coming, but the people around here didn't really see that your evolution and the jump in your game was going to go that much from the 2022 off season to the early 2023.
Yeah.
So what would you credit that to? What was your grind like? You know, take me through that a little bit, because that jump in talent from end of season, not that you were a bad player at the end of last season.
Yeah, no,
you just
absolutely.
weren't someone jumping into potential power pool player, you know, before that was even a thing. So talk to me about it.
I mean, honestly, like I give a lot of the credit to all the players in Atlanta. Like, you know, David Gonzalez, Noah Luskis, Brendan, Patrick Chu. I moved there with kind of like 15% of the reason I moved to Atlanta was because spike ball was huge down there. And when I lived in New York for college, I didn't have people I was playing with. You know, like I was just hitting serves and hitting and just working on hitting in the gym or just, you know, like the basement of my apartment building. But then I was able to, like, once I moved to Atlanta, play with all these guys in pickup. And there's nothing like getting like serve receive practice, in system hitting practice, you know, hearing from them like what I should improve on mid game, like tell me where to be defensively. I think there's an element to seeing really high quality serves in pickup. Like it helps your own serve. Like it's like, okay, like that's how you hit the ball. Like that's how you spin the ball. And like you see it like in their hand and you're like, okay, like, you know, like that's how you kind of do it. And so when I moved to Atlanta, I was like, I knew all I needed was a chance to play against good players and pickup. And that's what it took for me. Like I was there when I first moved there. I didn't have a lot of success. I was kind of losing most games in pickup, like, you know, maybe going 1-4, like 2-3, 2-4. And then it got to a point where like I started to win, you know, more games than I was losing in pickup. And, you know, maybe go like 3-3 or like 4-2. And it was a very like slow progression, but fast at the same time. I think I put like a lot more effort on just playing pickup with them on like a 2 to 3 day a week schedule, like in 2022. And then also just going to a shit ton of tournaments. And sorry if you have to bleep that out. But
we'll ride.
I played so many tournaments, and I still do. And I love traveling. It's like one of my favorite things to do. That's the best way to get better is just getting yourself out there, like going to as many events as you can. And I'm one of those people where it's like, I'm in this for the long run. Like I have no intention of stopping to play.
And Kieran is 23, just so you know, you have like, you know, you could do another 10 years of the sport, like seriously competitively. If you
if I really push myself. And that's kind of how I think of it. Is like I'll go to these events, and this is one event, you know, in 1 year that I'm playing. Like I don't really care how I do. I'm gonna try my best.
Yeah.
But like I'm gonna be looking back at that event 4 years from now as like, all right, like that was the start. So
I love that, man.
Each one of these tournaments is like
it's a building block.
It's the next step. You know, like if I lose, if I have a disappointing tournament, you're not gonna have every tournament be what you want from it. You know, like it's just impossible.
It is. So as we go through you and Justin, I wanted to go a little bit to them because your progression, you're attributing a lot of that to your pickup group and how it sort of like evolved and ultimately, led to you getting better looks, and then that led to you taking these big jumps from year over year. So you go through with Justin. So I have to put in a little disclaimer. I think Justin is a fantastic dude, and like I've only been around him a little bit.
Yeah.
And obviously I enjoy time with you, so if somebody that's cool with you, cool with me. But this is a funny little callback. So I'm a maniac, and I'm overly competitive like you.
Yeah.
And I remember I went into, I believe it was my third attempt at Premier. Third, maybe? It was Atlanta last year.
Okay.
Ryan and I going into the Challenger, the one where Airbuds took down Bazinga in the finals.
Yep.
And I remember the night before the tournament, we were staying at this hotel, and I was there with Ryan, Paul, and Dan Banowski, and I put up a poll on my Instagram thing, like, where are we going to land? Are we going to get Premier? Are we going to be... Are we going to be... It wasn't a major, so whatever. Are we going to be 5th through 10th? Are we going to be this to this? There was a lot of options.
Yep.
One option was like 13th through 18th.
He put 13th.
And he put 13th through 18th. And I just remember seeing it, and like every time I see him now...
Was he the only one who voted for that? Or?
He was the only one that voted for that particular slot, yes. And I think what bothered me more than anything, well, two things. One, if that's what you really think, just don't click the fucking button at all. No offense. But secondly, he was right. So that's what grinded my gears. Is he was right. Yeah, he was just right. So.
Oh man.
Yeah, but yeah. So Justin, you're a good dude, and I've mostly let it go. But yeah, every time I see you, I just think about you clicking that damn button. But you were right. So
That's
alas, yeah. So take me through if you could, because I think it would be awesome. The the birthplace of Profit Boost.
Yeah.
And beyond that, like, committing to someone for a whole season. I mean, we play this fun game, but that's a big commitment. Yeah. You know what I mean? So you have the floor. Just talk me through it a little bit.
Yeah. So we had played like a lot in pickup, like I kind of said, and so we were familiar with each other's games. We were both, low Premier last year in 2021, and so we had both, kind of made Premier. We weren't having any success with other partners that we had played with. A lot of that was just due to like our own games just not being very polished. Had not a lot on like the other partners. I wouldn't say. I just say I wasn't very good. And so I finally got a chance to play with Justin. I've been wanting to, and so we played Philadelphia actually like last year, and we went 3-1 in pool play, which was like the best I'd done in Premier pool play before. Like I was going 0-4, 1-3, 1-4, like losing a lot. Probably went to like 5 Premier tournaments before actually having a winning record in pool play. So like I went, I think 3-1 with him, and the game we lost actually was at cap, so we could have been 4-0.
Wow.
But then we got the 12 seed, and it was actually funny. We played Dennis and Alex Daly in round of 32.
Dude, that's crazy full circle moment.
Yeah, very full. I've had a lot of these full circle moments. But we played Dennis and Alex, and so it was 20. I think we got him in 3. Maybe it was 2. I keep forgetting 2 or 3. But yeah, we beat him in round of 32. So that was like fun, to like beat the guy who I like got Premier with, and then beat Alex, who like I had a history playing against him a good amount. And so me and Justin, requalled. And we played Ryan Gross and Kyle Ackerman round of 16, and of course we got wrecked. But that was kind of like our first step. We were like, all right, we made it first through one round of bracket. We requalled. We had a good tournament. Like, let's play another one.
Let's build on that.
Yeah, and so we played Columbus last year, and I think this is really where like we started to get taken more seriously, I guess. We had Max and Blake in pool play. Didn't do great receiving Blake, but we, were having good rally ball with them. It felt like we were kind of in the series, even though it wasn't that close. We handled our business versus the other Premier teams in our pool, and then we got a chance against a pro team, Bazinga. And so, going into this, I'd seen Bazinga play in Atlanta. I knew they were very good. We knew we had to be at the top of our game, and we kind of just jumped on them very early. We, had good serve pressure. We were I probably played like the best defense of my life in that series. So
Yeah, I watched that series. You were all over the place.
Haven't been able to replicate that since, but yeah, I probably the coolest play I ever had was like a soft touch I had
to a diving set.
I've seen and yeah, that was one of my favorite like plays ever, and so that was great because we were in the gold bracket. We got to round of 16. Unfortunately, had to play Max and Blake again. And so yeah, they ran through us, but it was like, all right, like we beat a pro team. Like everyone kind of like understood that they can't take us lightly anymore. It was a great feeling, but we wanted to build on it too. And so we were like, all right, like we could seriously play the season next year. I know he was talking to me about how he wanted to travel a lot and like play. And I really wanted to play with somebody. Like I'd never had a season partner before. I just wanted like the chance to like run a lot of tournaments with someone. And so we were like, all right, like let's go play Christmas Classic. If we have a good run in Christmas Classic, then we can decide after that. And so we played Christmas Classic. Kind of struggled in pool play. Went 3-2 in pool play. We lost to Kurt and Reed. They got us pretty good. Just couldn't receive. We lost to Tim and Nick Ivanko, I think. So Tim from Gritty Guys, which at the time I didn't know who they were. Are obviously like good players now, and like I was just like mad that we had lost to anyone I hadn't heard of. So, but respect to them. Like they played really great, and so we didn't have a great pool play. We were like, what's going on? Like we played so much better in Columbus. The afternoon, flipped a switch, played insane. Got to semis. This is where I played Vinny. For the second time, actually. I played Vinny in Christmas Classic 2022.
Yeah.
He wrecked me there, and I didn't know who Vinny was at the time then. He wrecked me again in 2020, or I guess this was Christmas Classic 2021. Christmas Classic 2022. So yeah, in 2022, Christmas Classic this past year, Vinny ran through me and Justin. Couldn't really receive him too well, and so we ended up getting fourth at that tournament. But it was like we felt really good with where we were at because we were beating teams that we knew were very high quality. We got a chance again against Reed and Kurt and beat them in bracket.
Oh, good.
So we were like, all right, like we beat the team we beat in pool play. Whatever. We thought good about it, and we were like, let's play the season. And yeah, like I really wanted to play with him. I wanted to play with someone who wasn't like well known. I thought that was like just something I personally wanted. It's just like it's fun to like people don't expect you to do well and then you do. Like I like kind of being like the underdog. So yeah, I kind of wanted to play with someone who wasn't an established player per se, and neither was I. So yeah, that's why I chose to play with Justin, and I'm sure he has some of the similar reasons too.
To jumping on board with you, and then we spoke about it, off the podcast a little bit last night, but that's a little bit more of your competitive nature is to. I don't want to hop in anybody's backpack and then hop on and then have success. Like I want to earn it, which is cool, and I kind of agree with that and try to model my game too. And then ultimately, I'm in search for a partner for 2024. I want to do the same thing. I don't want to play with somebody that they're just gonna be like, Josh just hooked up with this guy and then now they're going crazy. No, I don't care about that. I want to play with somebody who's building, who's in the same lane as me, similar skill set as me, skill. Range as me, and then go. I really respect that. And as we go through, we have the birthplace of Profit Boost. Let's talk specifically about this season. So give me a couple of the highlights from this season, ultimately culminating in your second place finish against In System, which was an awesome game. We just watched the replay of that a little while ago, and you guys really played them pretty tough. So give me a couple of the season highlights here and some of your high moments, and maybe even a few of your low moments if there were some.
So we've kind of gone into this season with like the mindset of we're not going to have a great tournament every time. We want to play our best, but that's why we're playing 11 tournaments. Is we know that our goal this year was to make pro. We knew that we just needed 3 good results, like 3, things that we could build off of, right? And count towards our pro run. So our first tournament was Richmond. We went 6-0 in pool play, and that was great for us because we got to make top bracket. And this was like my first time going undefeated in pool play in Premier. So it was like, all right, like this is great. We played Garrett Hornock and Colton Mowry, which I'm still a little salty that we lost to them. They definitely played us better. It wasn't like too close. It was like 18-16, but we just didn't have a lot of energy in that series. And so kind of had our first major run cut short. But we were like, you know what? Like, we had a good pool play. We'll have another chance. We can play better. We weren't too worried about it. And so that gave us a T9 because we lost. Or no, it was T17 because we lost round of 32. So it wasn't like a great result, but we were like, all right, like we can do better. And so I guess like challenger wise, we didn't have a lot of success. We got to Salt Lake City, and this is where I think like we started to have some success against the pro teams. We went 5-1 in pool play, split with Jersey boys, which we've actually ran into a ton this year. We played them in pool play at Richmond. We played them in Christmas Classic last year. And then of course they're like your boys, so like you know them very well. But yeah, we played them and just couldn't really like figure out how to hit around them. They were playing really good defense on us, and it was surprising to us because like we think we're like great hitters. So they were just upping everything. It was great by them. But anyway, what were you gonna say?
They're solid. I just agreeing with you.
Very underrated players. And so basically we got to bracket as like the 16th seed. Played against Luke Pennington and Josh Kane, some Cali boys. Go to Cal Poly, very good premier players themselves. And we got them in 2. And then we played Judgment Day, and we were like, all right, like here's our first test, right? Yeah. So game 1 we hung with them. It was like 17, I think, but Gabe like got us at the very end. And so it was we were in like half a break most of the game, and we were like, let's jump on game 2. Like they're gonna think we're just gonna like lie down. We lost game 1 pretty close. Like I feel like a lot of the times teams that are going in with like kind of the edge, like they're gonna assume that the other team is gonna lay down game 2. So we got them early. We were up 14-10 on Fred and Gabe, and then it just fell apart. We really wish we could have won that one, just because pushing into game 3 would have been great, but also we thought we could have won game 3 if we had just closed out game 2.
Maybe carried a little of that momentum.
We would have been on such a high if we had won game 2 that I truly think we would have won game 3, but we didn't win game 2. So Gabe clutched up at the end there. They got us, and then we beat Luke, Mowry, and Dawson in like a 1-game consolation match for T9. So that gave us 160 points. We were like, okay, sweet. We're like a third of the way there to pro, because last year it was like 600-ish to get in.
That was like number 16 was around 600.
Yeah, like around 600. We were like, all right, like that could be one of our results. Like if we got like a second or a first, like that could be one of our bottom 2 results, and that could get us in. And so we were like, all right, that's solid. And then we had, I guess, like a low moment. I can't figure out Texas players. I just lose to Texas players. So we played Tyler Fernandez and Chase Meyer, and I actually had played with Tyler the weekend or like 2 weeks before in Santa Cruz at the Challenger. We lost in quarters, and that was my first time making quarters in Premier. So even though we lost and it was disappointing that we lost, it was still like, all right, we both made quarters for the first time. Anyway, we played against them in Nova at Nova Clash, and
round of 8, right?
Round of 8. Yep. It just sucks losing to someone that you had played with really recently. It's just like, dang, like they got the upper hand, I guess. And so Justin and I, we played pretty bad. I mean, they played really well. They were digging us. I think like one of the takeaways from that series was we were just setting righty boom over and over again, being really lazy with like rotating our partner around net. So like Justin would come up to the net and I'd just set him righty boom. I wouldn't set him righty flick and like push him. He would just set me righty boom, and I would just lazily like try to hit it over them. And they got a lot of touches on us, and credit to them. I mean, they were in the right spot. But I think we were just like really not paying attention to the little details in that series, and so that was kind of a wake-up call. And so that sucked because we had a great pool play. and we had a chance to play or it wasn't Spotless. It would have been was it Spotless?
I feel as though it was the winner of Spotless and Shorter and Taller.
Yep. So we would have played Spotless in semis, and of course, like Ryan Gross from my old pickup group, like I wanted to play him, but yeah, we didn't get a chance. So we had T5. We knew 96 points from T5 wasn't going to be one of our top 3, so it was unfortunate because we knew like that was a chance at podium we missed out on. But then we bounced back the next week. So then we played Portland. And we were going into this tournament with basically our season came down to the next 2 weekends.
Yeah.
We had Portland, which was a lighter field than a lot of the other challengers. And then the next weekend after that was Islip. I don't know how you pronounce it, but I think Islip. So Islip, and then it was like Chicago and maybe Quebec. Yeah, I think it was Quebec. So those were like the 3 tournaments the following weekend. But we knew, okay, we have to podium one of these 2. We have to do something. And so we just came into Portland so focused. Played probably the best we'd ever played together. Like, I mean, we were in that. It wasn't even like teams were playing like bad against us. We just played insane. We were like handling everybody, like not getting aced at all, putting crazy serves on, playing really great defense with a ton of energy. It felt like the perfect kind of tournament for us.
Yes.
And then it got to in-system in the finals. That unfortunately was our worst game of the day. Like we did not play great, but I mean we hung with them. I think what sucked was we started down like 3-0, 4-0 in both games. So Blake kind of got on us early, and it made it really hard to come back. But I mean, they're obviously a top 5 team and really talented and great dudes themselves. So wasn't the worst thing in the world losing to them. We got 300 points from that result, and that was like, okay, now we're at like 460 for our 2 results. Like, let's get one more podium. Let's get one more good result to boost us in to
potentially crack.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah. So if you haven't already, pause this video, shut this video down, go to Kieran's page. What's the name of your YouTube page?
It's just Kieran Rose Roundnet. Yeah.
Kieran Rose Roundnet. Just search it in YouTube and look up his highlights from Portland. It's honestly one of the best. Like, I mean, with the videos now, highlight video wise, are fairly short. Like, no one's posting too long videos, but it's one of the best you'll see, including their finals with in-system. In pool play, they went undefeated as well as in-system. They had a point diff there, plus 46-ish.
I think it was a little less than that, but
43, 44.
We were the only teams that were like, undefeated going into brackets. So it was fun to like kind of handle our business and play them.
Yeah. So what gives you an even bit of a clearer path to the finish line, essentially, is their point diff. They battled with in-system, gave them the 2 seed versus in-system's 1 seed, essentially setting you up with, I mean, not having to run through them to get to the finals, which is huge
for us. Yeah, it was huge for us that we weren't gonna have to play them anything earlier than the finals. That's really what we wanted, and it was good to kind of see, like, when we've had to handle business this year, we've done it very well in pool play. We've struggled at times in the afternoon, just getting through bracket, especially with serve consistency. I think has hurt us the most. Just giving free points to the other team.
Yeah.
That's not really sure what that's attributed to be honest. It could be fatigue. It could be other teams figuring our serves out. Mix of things. Yeah.
Sure, absolutely. A little luck. Sometimes a little luck on your side. A couple bounces go your way. A couple calls, a little high versus just right. So we were in Philadelphia yesterday.
Yes, yeah.
And we'll go to Philadelphia, and then I want to talk a little bit about goals for the year and then 2024 goals. So Philadelphia yesterday, you were in a difficult pool, but a power pool.
Yes, a difficult pool.
Hilltop,
Kingdom Come, and then Bad Combo.
That's a hell of a pool.
Yeah, 3 top 15 teams in the world. So we were going into it knowing that wasn't going to be pretty probably, but we wanted to challenge them. We wanted to make them sweat. We went 1-5. We lost to Kingdom Come 21-18, 21-19. Played them pretty close. I mean, Justin and I weren't really finding our like peak serves. Clapp wasn't really hitting his peak serves either, so it was kind of like evened out. But we weren't converting our opportunities that we had, and so they played better than us, got the W. Then we played bad combo, kind of got wrecked by Will Pacone. He hit some really good serves on us.
But you returned the favor.
I returned the favor a bit.
That'll be in the highlight video coming soon. But Kieran was doing some damage.
It was kind of fun to have like a back and forth with Will. But so we lost to them 17 and 15. Didn't play them as close, but it was okay. Like we had played them earlier in the year actually, in Atlanta in pool play, and we had them on the ropes. I think we were up like the mini in like late game, and then Will kind of got us at the very end, but it was still like a good game, and we thought going into yesterday that we could play them well, but it wasn't the same. We didn't play them as good as we did in Atlanta, and so they got us. Mm-hmm. Then we played Hilltop, and so
take me through this one.
I'll tell you about this one. Like this was very full circle. Talk about full circle for me. I mean, for one, like Max and Cole, very good friends with them. Great dudes outside of spike ball, really respect their game and like their grind to like get back in like with 2 major injuries themselves. And I think this was, it was crazy for me because seeing them play at like the Boston regional back in like 18, and like I was like, I want to be at that stage and like play against them. Like they're so good. And now I got a chance to play against them as like an East team kind of ourselves. Like me and Justin, like we're like from New York. Like, we feel like we're like on the same level as Hilltop, and like Hilltop is obviously a very respected team. And so we really wanted to beat them. We got them game 1, 21-12. We hit a ton of serves.
That's a crazy result.
It was cool. Cole was telling me he's gonna have nightmares of my serves, so that's fun to hear.
Yeah, that's a good.
And then game 2, we were kind of in control most of the way, and then we were up in extras like the mini. I got dug by Cole. He had a really good hand just on like a boom that I was trying to hit, and then they ended up beating us at cap in game 2. So that's how we went 1-5. Our point diff was only -7 for like 1 and 5. So I guess we got all the point diff from Hilltop. But yeah, we felt like we were playing pretty well for the most part. And so going into bracket, we were like, like we can handle our business. Our goal yesterday was to make quarters. We thought it would be very hard to do, but we knew that 200 points would definitely boost us. It would definitely boost us into pro. But we ended up playing, or I guess you're gonna say something.
You're good. Yeah, keep going. What? So first round of 32 was against
Connor Nelson and shoot, I'm spacing on the other guy's name, but anyway, Connor is an upcoming player too. I'm really high on him. He's like an Ambi server. He actually got like the 3 seed in Portland. So he's like kind of new to Premier 2. He's been playing the last year, but I think he's playing with Sonny Gu from Northeastern at Columbus. I think they're going to be very good. But yeah, Connor and his partner, Connor being a little bit more experienced, was kind of carrying like the serve pressure. But we played them close. I think it was like 21-19, 22-20. So we were in control of both games, but it definitely was a sweat. And then we got to round of 16 against Spotless. So here was our chance.
Here we are.
Against Spotless. We got to play him after not being able to play him in Nova. And, like, I think I've played Joe and Ryan a good amount by now. So I'm pretty familiar with their games. I've seen a lot of footage on them. But it's obviously different, like, playing across from them. And so Joe was surprising me with like how good his like just how fast his lefty was coming off the net. I wasn't getting to his left. I think lateral quickness just wasn't there by me, and Justin was struggling with a couple recovery sets. I wasn't putting it like in the right spot. We didn't play clean game 1. Lost 21-15. Game 2 we battled. I think this is where like game 2 is very winnable. Especially when you lose to a team that's supposed to beat you, at least on paper. is it's like, they kind of expect that you're going to lay down. Like, I think they're thinking, all right, we can just handle these guys. Like, we got them 21-15, piece of cake. We put a lot of pressure on them game 2.
You guys played it outstanding. This is when I finally got to see you freaking play.
Yeah. No, it's fun. It's great having an audience. And so we got them game 2, 21-19, held on at the very end. But we were up like 13-8 or like 12-8. So we were up early against them, and they kind of came back at the very end. But we held them off, and so that was good. But obviously we got wrecked game 3. Lost to them 21-11. And, I mean, didn't even feel like we took them to 3, to be honest, because it felt like we just got destroyed so bad. But, I mean, it's fine. You build on this. Like, it's one step at a time. You don't lose in 2, you lose in 3, and then maybe next time you beat them in 3. So, yeah, I think it was good to kind of see us, like, compete with the pro teams. I think we hadn't had a victory over any pro teams this year. Like, I can't even remember our best win of the season, to be honest.
Yeah.
So it was good to kind of have something where it's like, all right, like, we beat a team and at least took a game off them.
Yeah.
So we can do it. Like, we know we can do it. We just have to both play good, and not have one of us play good.
Yep. Finding that level that you guys both got to, maybe the highest level that I've seen of you. Mm-hmm. But you were, and Justin, but you were both there. And then in game 3, Joe and Ryan still had their foot on the gas and were playing at maybe like 90% of their overall potential. Yeah. And you guys, maybe, I think you dropped from, let's say, your 100% potential to like 75, and it felt like Justin went to about 60.
Yeah.
And so that little bit of the letdown was tough. And after game 2, I was sitting with a few of the guys that we play with here, and I was just like, I don't know if you remember the final point, but it was Ryan Gross serving, and he lipped up his serve,
I remember that.
And then you guys just went, you just set, boom, kill, get off my net, game 2's done. And I was just like, dude, that's actually a really badass way to take down this second game, because he didn't even have a chance. You just you gave him no shot.
Yeah, I was getting that ball. I was not letting him get second serve.
Yeah. Oh, he was serving to you on game point?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're right. That's right. And then you wrapped one, and it was over from there. But yeah, that third game was difficult because it was just like a culmination of not even errors as much as just like not being able to finish the plays off, whether it was not the cleanest of hit, not the best of set, which allowed to them playing really kind of like simple defense just to get hands up with off net sets, which they're solid anyway, so you really have to play clean, play your absolute best to take them down. But it's been a year for you guys where you're each tournament, I've seen you guys, I do think you're, even if you have like one where you kind of go like this, it's not this.
Yeah.
It's kind of like this, maybe a little bit here, and then up again. So maybe little peaks and no valleys, but some plateaus. So
I agree. I feel very good about our season so far. I mean, going into it, no one thought we would be pro at this point last year. So I think even I knew we could do it, but there's only a certain level of the community that was aware of my determination and whatnot. And I think that's the thing that kind of sets me, I feel over the edge a lot of the time, is I'm so determined to get to the next level and very competitive as you know. So I think that is my ability to focus, stay locked in, has really helped me at times.
Absolutely. Okay, so one thing that I want to do, not now because it's be a lot to go through, but I've enjoyed all the work that the Round Network has been doing. I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
They've been pumping out regular rankings of the teams.
Yep.
And then you sort of take the rankings, and then there'll be loads of comments, so-so's too high, so-and-so's too low. So what I want to do is maybe you and I could do it quarterly, but I want it to be less regularly.
Yeah.
Or maybe after each major, or maybe we can talk about it.
Okay.
But a Josh and Kieran's, and not go crazy, but top 20. And so what I'd like to do is, you have a journey home today. When you're on that plane, if you could do a very, very light rough draft, maybe we set up a shared note.
Okay.
We go in, your list here, my list here, and then we can talk about it. And then when I ultimately release the pod, I'll put the Josh and Kieran's agreed top 20 list. I think it'd be fun. I've been thinking about it a lot.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
So I don't think I told you this yesterday.
Yeah.
I'm one of the voters on the Round Network committee. So I already have a top 25 like that I have like all the time. So how we do it actually is it's like 12 members that vote, like 10 to 12, depends on the week and their availability. But basically, you vote for the top 25. You put them in order. You get a list of all the teams, and you get a list of their recent result. And then, I guess like who's on the team, where their recent result was. So like second at Salt Lake City, for example, or T5 at Atlanta. And then basically you just put them 1 through 25, and then 25 points goes to a first place vote, 1 point for a 25th place vote, and then you don't vote for your own team. So I never put Profit Boost in. Others do, and then you get an average of what the other committee members put your team as an extra vote. So if they had us in at like 17th, for example, you'd get, I guess, like 8 points for it, and so
pretty cool.
Yeah, I feel like it's fair because
it
eliminates some bias. If you put yourself higher, lower, or whatnot.
Yeah. So here's what I want to do for our list.
Sure.
I want to welcome bias. So I want you to place yourself on that.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then for us, obviously, the weight of those numbers with just 2 submissions would be difficult. So we'll just look at it and we'll mesh them together. And then if there's anything that you feel is way off, and then we'll go back and forth and we'll debate it.
We'll talk about it. All right, that's sick. Yeah, let's do it.
So we'll do the first slide of the pod will be us, and then the second slide will be, or maybe just a completely new post, the second post, and it'll just be our top 20 list, which will be fun.
Yeah, sweet.
So the final thing that I have here is goals for 2024. So not to put you on the spot, but could you see a world where you and Justin say, hey, Profit Boost Part 2, 2024?
Yeah, it's possible. We've barely talked about it, to be honest. Like, I think we haven't really thought like too much ahead of just like trying to make pro this year. But I think for me, like, I really like playing with Justin. Like, it's a ton of fun to play with him. I really want to play with someone that I'm like close friends with, and that like, I think what helps us is like I genuinely don't care if he has a bad tournament, because I know he's a great player. So I know he's gonna bounce back. I think he feels the same way with me. Like, if I have a bad tournament, like we both have kind of carried each other at times throughout the year, which is great to have in a partner. And so I don't know if I'm going to play the season with him next year. I think part of me wants to like play with someone new, and it'd be fun to kind of do the whole jersey and team name thing again and like just start from scratch. I think if we made pro this year, it could be fun to like play again with him, trying to requal for pro. Or it could be fun to try to find like another player that's pro to play with. And I haven't really talked to too many of the other guys about it. Kind of just waiting to see how the season plays out. But I think there's a lot of players out there that like I'd like to play with. It just depends like how their season goes and whatnot. So yeah, I guess I'll see. In terms of goals for 2024, I'm not going to be too result focused with this. I'd say biggest thing for me is off-season athleticism. I really want to become more agile. I think that is my biggest weakness in all of the sport, is footwork and mobility. I want to be able to shuffle with ambi servers. I want to be able to rotate on defense better. So I plan on doing a lot of like flexibility, hip training, footwork training, speed drills, really just pushing myself this off season to be the most prepared like athletically I've been going into a year. So like this year, like I did a little bit preseason. It was very hard to find time for it. But I want to make that a point of emphasis. Like outside of just like round net, like how can I just become like a better athlete? And that's kind of my plan like next year.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it, man. Well, listen, that's a really, really hyper-focused goal, and that's sort of like, as I've got to spend more one-on-one time with you, I find you as a very hyper-focused person.
Yeah.
And I admire that in you. I think it's a badass trait. Yeah, it's awesome, dude. I think that, really, I think sky's the limit for you, bro. I'd like to see you earn your chance at a shot this year in the top 16 in the tournament, in the championship. And then ultimately, I think you end up on a top 10 team in the world next season.
That would be amazing.
Yeah. I think that's where I see you, bro. I wish you all the best. It's crazy to say this. We've been going over an hour. It always happens. But, dude, it's been an absolute pleasure. This is Kieran Rose. Maybe we get you back on here. We can spend some more time together. But any closing thoughts before we get out of here?
No, man. I mean, I'm just excited to see your progression, too. I mean, it's like you were saying, like, you're looking for someone in 2024, like, stay on the grind, dude. Like, I mean, I know how much you're playing. You're talking to me about it. Like, I'm excited to see like where you go. I really would recommend like trying to find somebody that you've played with a good amount that like is very good. And like I think like a big thing is just kind of like trusting them that they could have a bad tournament and it doesn't matter. Like I think just being able to be on the same like grind focus level as them. Like you both want it really bad. It's hard to find. It really is. Like there's a lot of players in even pro right now where I question if they are truly committed to the game. They're just so talented themselves that it doesn't matter. But I think being really determined is going to put you over those teams that don't want it as bad as you. And I can tell how bad you want it. So I fully believe that you'll get there. I do. Really
I appreciate
you having me on.
You too. And dude, thanks for saying that. 1, 2, this would be my closing remark. This is why it's important. The community is a really, really badass place. You get to meet friends from all over the country. Us, we're just 2 East Coast guys. But outside of my community of people who was there when I got Premier, you were one of the first players outside of my group, out of my circle, that I was on the podium and I saw him see us on the podium take 3rd, and he looked like it was Christmas morning. He was even more excited than me at one point in time, and I didn't really get to talk to you after because there's so much BS going on and we were all over the place, but that was really, really cool for me too, because we see each other, and even like the Jersey Boys stuff, they're some of my close friends, so I see them play you, it's like, this is tough. But now you've avoided them for a couple tourneys, so it's been nice like to really root for you to kick ass. But no, were you coming up and being hyped for us like that, dude? Like, it was really cool. I appreciate you. It was awesome.
I was stoked. I was like, I remember I like looked, like I was like looking over at the podium because Jonah's like, and the contender podium, and then like I'm like looking over, I'm like, let's go. I just ran over like so excited. No, that was sick. I'm stoked for you, and it seems like took a game off my friends Noah and Brendan a couple weeks ago. Like that's a sick first result. Like I think just continue building on it.
Yep, like you talked about like the steps and taking this win and then taking down Bazinga, and it's sort of like I feel as though you were like taking me through this chapter by chapter of your like round net story / progression, and I just felt like I'm like a couple chapters behind you on the story.
Hey, you're there. Like, you'll meet me there.
We're in the same book at least, but we're working. We're grinding. We're on the grind. Spike Lemonade Pod, episode 6 with Kieran Rose. It's been a blast, and we'll see you soon. Look out for our top 20 list coming with the sharing of this post. So thanks for tuning in, y'all.